2.
You are Locked On Wolves Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
T-Wolves get back on track tonight versus the Lakers. Final score 97-87. What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another T-Wolves Postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. It's a Lukey and Dookie night tonight, baby. Give him a follow at ADukeMN NBA Insider for ZoneCoverage.com. Andrew, plenty to break down tonight, including Jaden McDaniels' best game of the season, plus another defensive surge by the Wolves. But first, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Game Time. Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. All right, man. Wolves coming in. Nice little break after that loss versus Golden State. Remember, they played them back-to-back. They split that 1-1. They come out the gate tonight pretty fast and strong. I mean, Lakers with 11 turnovers in the first quarter. That's the most turnovers they've had in a single quarter all season long. They also only made 2 3-pointers in the entire first half. So kind of just a comedy of errors by the Lakers early on, which is how the Wolves, they got the lead up to 14. They went up 6 at halftime. Then the Lakers kind of cleaned some things up. They chipped away, got to within 5-6 points late, but Wolves kind of ran away with it thanks to some outstanding defense. And then J-Mac was just fantastic tonight. Ant had 23 points. Julius Randle had 21 of his own. Wolves moved to 13-11 on the year. Just kick us off like we always do. Kind of your big A general topics after, you watch this one live. You're reporting from the Target Center as we speak. What'd you think? A topics to kick us off.
The depths of the Target Center.
Man, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Anyways, this is the Jaden McDaniels. The bowels of the Target Center. I mean, this is the Jaden McDaniels game. He kind of jokingly said earlier this week at practice that, he just kind of decided he was back and he's going to start being better. And
great.
Holy cow, did he back it up today? I mean, phenomenal performance by him. Other than that, I think the thing that stood out to me the most is just the starters on the Wolves. The starting 5 played 20 minutes together tonight, had an offensive rating of 107.1. Genuinely, that's not great, but their defensive rating was a 70 in this game. So like elite. Starting 5 and their minutes together plus 17. I mean, this is why there was so many games where Finch afterwards would just come up to us and say, hey, I'm playing the starters because I want them to gel together.
Yeah.
I want them to get cohesive because we're starting to see what they can look like together. And McDaniels, just a game wrecker tonight. I mean,
I want to touch on that defense here in a second. You just mentioned it, though. You've obviously gone to a lot of these Finchy pressers. You just came from the Finch presser immediately after the game tonight. I'm just curious, what was the big takeaway or two from that sit down tonight? And what was maybe the underlying message he had after this game?
I mean, unprompted, he brought up Rob Dillingham. Dane Moore asked him to expand a little bit more on it. And, Finch just said he's really happy with the defense that Dillingham's been playing. I think it was coincidental that Dillingham got pulled in the fourth quarter after a couple threes went in over him. But Finch, unprompted, bringing up Rob Dillingham after that hiatus is pretty telling of just where their head is with him. I think, the Cat trade might have messed up a little bit where they wanted to start the season with him. But now that we're kind of into the season, starters are more gelled together. I think they're probably gearing up to have quite a bit of Dillingham in the future. The other thing was just, he mentioned the ball was sticking a lot again in this press conference where, the offense looks good. They go through a stretch where it, miss shots. It doesn't look as great. And then it transfers into just the, ISO ball, hero ball stickiness that brought up really throughout his entire tenure here, that the ball sticks. again, I kind of saw it too, where Ant was going 1-on-1 with guys or 1-on-3 with guys again tonight.
I think we all saw it, yeah. And then Julius would have a stab at it. Guys just standing around, just kind of lackluster at times, for sure. Did this feel like, and by the way, I want to talk a little bit more Dillingham minutes here, maybe in segment 2, but did this feel more like the Wolves outplaying the Lakers kind of top to bottom, or was this a kind of a case of the Wolves taking advantage of a LeBron-less Lakers team that really, again, people are maybe glossed over this first half, right? Just because we're a prisoner of the moment. But, I mean, they really shot themselves in the foot way too much early on. And for the record, I don't really care either way, because a win's a win, right? But what was maybe the vibe out there in the building at the Target Center? Because, the Wolves did do a lot of nice things, and I think there is some stuff to build on for sure.
The vibe was good. It was a pretty loud crowd.
Good.
Man, they love Jaden McDaniels. I mean, he had that offensive rebound put back, and I made a tweet. It sounded like The Rock walked in. I mean, the pop was just insane.
Stone Cold's music, the glass.
Literally, the glass shatters, and that was the pop to a Jaden McDaniels putback. I think the team, knows that this is a game that they probably should have won by 20, but a win's a win. They're 5-6 in their last 6 games. Mm-hmm. They are winning Western Conference teams. That helps them in the standings, and they've really gotten back to that defensive identity, which defense, as we saw last year, travels. I mean, it travels to the playoffs. It travels to any arena. If they just keep the defense up, they'll be able to win some of these rock fights.
J-Mac's best game of the season. I feel pretty confident about that stadium. You mentioned it as well. 18 points, 9 boards, 5 steals, 2 blocks. Dude was just everywhere tonight. And sometimes these good J-Mac games in the past have not always equated to wins for some reason, but obviously tonight that wasn't the case. I think you said it, man. That was truly, that is the J-Mac we all love to see. We've all been just kind of waiting for every night to show up more consistently. Break his game down tonight a little bit more in depth, and what that does for this team when he is playing such a well-rounded game with the defense that he seems to show up with more consistently night in and night out. But the scoring tonight, though, as well. How much does that kind of move the needle for this Wolves team?
I mean, the scoring moves the needle a ton. I mean, if he can be the reliable third option on this team, it just opens everything up. I mean, especially if he's going to shoot 2 for 3 from 3 every night, it makes him a credible threat. So you can't sag off as much on Ant. Honestly, the biggest thing for me was 9 rebounds. I mean, how many games have there been where Jaden pulls down 2 rebounds in 36 minutes? And to that point, too, I mean, Jaden was able to play 36 and a half minutes because he just didn't foul, which that might be the biggest part of it. Is if Jaden can just consistently get 36 minutes, we might see more of these performances, but it's hard to score 18 points if you're getting 3 fouls and 12 minutes and then you're sitting for the whole first half. Honestly, though, if he can be that third scorer behind Ant and Randall, this team is completely different.
You bring up a great point, because it is the fouls, it is the minutes, right? Like, I don't expect you to pull this out of your head just, on a fluke, but like on average, how many minutes did J-Mac play last year? Again, because that's a great point. 36 minutes tonight, stayed out of foul trouble. We've seen him. That can be for sure one of his top 2 or 3 Achilles heels, getting into that foul trouble, because he plays such great aggressive defense consistently night in and night out. But on average, like, we didn't see a lot of J-Mac 36-minute type of games. We wanted to every night, but that wasn't the case, was it?
Mm-hmm. No, and it's just the fouls, which that's kind of been the most frustrating thing. I pulled up his basketball reference. Average minutes per game was 29 and averages 3 fouls a game. I mean, just on the surface level, that tells me that, like, pretty much every other game he's probably playing closer to 20 minutes. Right. And the other game he's playing probably 35, 36 because of fouls. And, he's been working on it. He says all the right things, that he's working on keeping his hands tighter. He's working on not reaching. I think tonight, though, just the best thing that could happen for him is LeBron didn't play. He was able to play off ball more. He was able to get into passing lanes more. And maybe that's the best spot for him to keep him on the court. But then who do you have guard a LeBron or a Luka?
Right. Right. Yeah, good point. Ant led the team 23 points. Again, despite going to the locker room with that tweaked ankle. So 23 points in 32 minutes. He looked sharp, though. And then Julius Randle, 21 points, 5 boards, 3 assists as well. What'd you like from those two out there tonight? And just how this entire offense, again, is just starting to mesh together now after, what do we got, 22, 23, 24 games?
And it felt like it was kind of a weird Ant game. Kind of came in bursts. You know, a lot of instances where he either turned the ball over, ran into a double team. I mean, those are just, he's a 22-year-old superstar thing. They will get better as he gets older. Julius, though, I mean, when he's able to just put the ball on the deck and bully his way to the basket, I mean, he's really good. I don't know what prevents him from doing that every game. Maybe it's just trying to get teammates involved, thinking too much, going to fades, what have you. But I mean, it could be that he was just playing Rui Hachimura and he has that guy's number. But I mean, he really impressed me again tonight. He looked a lot more like he did at the beginning of the season than this most recent stretch where he's kind of struggled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ant goes down, heads to the locker room. They started talking about on the broadcast, actually, Jim Pete, just how healthy this team has been this year. Obviously, knock on wood, right? But it does make you kind of think as you watch around the league, so many big names going down to injury, just how lucky the Wolves have been in that department. Ironically, probably the one time they've had the most depth to play with that they've had in it feels like years, no less, too, right? Pretty lucky in that department so far.
I mean, you got to remember the years where like Alexei Shved got signed and we were like, oh my gosh, Alexei Shved, Robbie Hummel is going to come in here and be the best small ball 4 we've ever had. Shout out Robbie Hummel. I mean, this year we have legitimately Terrence Shannon can't get minutes and he's wild. He's a 5-year senior. That's like a bona fide scorer.
Yeah.
Joe Ingles, if he was healthy, I don't know if he'd get minutes. Josh Minot didn't get minutes tonight. Leonard Miller was a first-round pick last year. Jalen Clark was, coming back from his Achilles injury. I mean, the bottom 5 guys on this team probably would have been in the rotation 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Again, long season. Obviously one injury away from a trickle effect, a snowball effect. All of a sudden, 2 or 3 of those guys might be playing a little bit more. But absolutely, again, knock on wood, so far, we'll take it for sure. Plenty more deep dive in this one. I want to talk about Dillingham's minutes a little bit more, plus the defensive surge. It is officially back for the Wolves. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It's the official sportsbook of the NBA. And right now, FanDuel is giving you a chance at a huge return with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed with your first $5 wager win. When you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Get in on some NBA future action while you're there. Anthony Edwards MVP odds sitting at 10-1. Still some great value. It's all sitting up over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Okay, you kind of touched on this already. I thought you had some good breakdowns. But again, Rob Dillingham starting to see the court a little bit more tonight. 6 points on just 7 minutes. Had a steal, 1 assist, I guess. Just get us caught up how he's looked lately, I guess, just kind of big picture. Because every time I do see him actually out on the court, he does look more and more comfortable out there. Like tonight, he made a deep 3, a deep splash that you got to have some confidence just to even shoot that shot, let alone to make it. It just tells me he's starting to feel it out there a little bit more and more as we continue to see him chew up some important minutes, right?
I mean, the kid puts in the work. I mean, I go to practices when the Wolves are in town here, and he is working late every practice with Pablo Prigioni. He's working on threes. He's working on like circus shots. He is he's always in the gym when media is there, which, you know, isn't the case with every single NBA player in the world. I mean, as far as the 3-ball goes, he's gotta hit it if he wants to stay on the roster, or not on the roster, but in the rotation. Unfortunately, in that 9th spot, there's 6 guys vying for it. I think Rob seems like he's the type of person, though, that is going to take advantage of that opportunity. I mean, another really good showing tonight, hit a couple threes. He pushes the pace, something that I was on with Ben earlier today. We were both talking about this team doesn't really run or doesn't really push pace in the fast break, and Rob does that. I think the other thing he really does is almost like the J-Mac that left for the Kings, Jordan McLaughlin. He has a pretty good synergy with Naz Reid where they really seem to kind of click off that pick and roll.
You can see it. Yeah, you can see it. If you just sit down and watch the games, you can see those two for sure. Some chemistry is starting to brew a little bit for sure.
And if you can get that back, that just backup point guard center pick and roll can get you 4 points a game. That's the difference in a lot of these games, is just that one action you can go to off of the bench. Defensively, again, it was kind of a tough look for him. Finch talked about it post game that he competes really well on ball. He does a good job, but Austin Reeves hit a 3 over him. Next Lakers score, another 3 was hit over Dillingham. He sagged off just a little too far, and you know, he's just not big enough yet to be able to make up that ground and get the hand fully in the face, which, you know, unfortunately, again, when you're the 9th guy on a roster, you're just not going to get those chances to make the mistakes like a Dante or a Nikhil is going to get subbed in.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Good breakdown there. Defensive surge, man. You kind of touched on it. The last handful of games, they had 4 straight games allowing under, what was it, 95 points before they lost to the Warriors, right? But then a great bounce back tonight. Again, no LeBron, but still, you know, 87 points allowed. So 5 out of their last 6 under 95 allowed. What sparked it all? Like, what is the, or who is the, I guess, that like the number one catalyst behind it all of a sudden? Like, at least compared to the first 18 games when we sat down and watched this defense, they just didn't have the same type of tenacity, aggressiveness, consistency, even like we saw last year right out the gate.
I mean, to me, oddly enough, like right before that first win against the Clippers, Dante DiVincenzo, I think it was the day before, talked to the media and just said, like, it's something that we got to want to do. Like, we just have to want to play defense. And that might have been as simple as it is. Everybody wants to play. You know, Jaden yesterday spoke to media and said, you know, when the ball's moving and everyone's getting shots up, it makes people more willing to get back on defense and really put that effort in. So maybe it is just as simple as the ball movement is up, they're passing it more, assist numbers are up, assist percentages are up, and that translates to them just playing harder on the defensive end because they're getting shots and they're getting passes and everyone's touching the ball.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think it was with Jack 2 games ago versus the Warriors. They had like an 80% assist rate. I know Jack said that was the 3rd best assist percentage they had all season. Tonight, they put up 18 more assists collectively. Who or what, same kind of question, who or what has been the number one catalyst, I guess, in that department too, if you had to pick one, because it does just feel like, at least tonight, they're moving the ball around better just in general lately, right? And I guess, where does that kind of fit into the power rankings, if you will, of team stats every night that they want to be the best at?
So I wrote about it earlier this week. Thanks for the plug, Luke. It's over on Zone Coverage if anybody wants to read. That's an assist right there.
That's a perfect lob pass right there for you. There you go. Check it out. Zone
but essentially, when the Wolves win, their assist percent is 10% higher than when they lose. It's not because they're making more shots. They make on average 4 more shots than they make in or 4 more shots in wins versus losses. Okay. So you're seeing a 10% increase in assist percentage on just 4 more makes. It really is just the team starts passing the ball more. And I think the catalyst of it is really like Dante and Nikhil getting more comfortable in that backup point guard role. understanding who needs the ball at what points. And the weird correlation I saw was when their assist percentage is, you know, above 70%, their defensive rating goes up 10 points, which a defensive rating, kind of just an average of what your defense would be over 100 possessions, it going up 10 points reflects that they're allowing 10 less points on the defensive side. I mean, it correlates pretty strongly.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's just a testament to the backup point guards, quote unquote, of Nikhil and Dante getting more comfortable.
Yeah, proof's in the pudding right there. Good breakdown for sure. I thought this was fun. Up on The Athletic right now, a recent poll, 40 NBA execs voted on the best front offices in the league. Just take a stab, unless you saw it, but just take a stab where you thought Tim Connelly in the Wolves front office ranked.
I didn't see it. I would say they're top 5.
They're 5, number 5.
Yeah.
Good guess. Top 5, number 5, top 5 in the entire league. OKC, number 1. Boston, Miami, Memphis, the only teams ahead of them. Two-part question here. Number 1, any issues with that top 5 or maybe surprises, if you will? And then number 2, in your opinion, what has made Tim Connelly in this front office so great? What does he do so great, I guess, since he's been here in Minnesota?
I think, Tim, it's just understanding how to maneuver with the salary cap, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Cat trade was pretty shrewd for getting Randall and Dante back. It opened things up, even though, you know, it may have lost games at the beginning of the season. The Mike Conley, Nikhil trade with D'Angelo, who we saw tonight, that was, I mean, talk about saving a franchise almost. And even the Rudy trade, I mean, we look back a lot better on that now. So the willingness to just take those swings. The only one on the surface I kind of had an issue with was Memphis, but then at the same time, I mean, they are a smart front office. They got off of the Marc Gasol contract before that became an albatross. They shipped Conley out when he was the highest paid player in the league to free up spots for Ja Morant and get salary cap back. They do make really good decisions over there too.
Yeah, you know, I've followed the NFL. Obviously, that's my bread and butter my entire life. Nothing will sink a team faster than bad ownership and bad general managers. Like it's the same in every sport. It starts at the top. It truly does. It's a cliche, but the more and more you follow these sports, the more you realize how true it is. So how lucky, I guess, should Wolves fans feel knowing they're in the hands of a Tim Connelly and company, and hopefully soon A-Rod and Mark Lowry may be pulling the strings at the top someday.
I mean, we've lived through the David Kahn era, so we can do anything. This is just lovely.
Anything is possible. KG right there. A couple minutes left. Let's talk about the Spurs game coming up, plus maybe the Wolves' biggest need at the deadline per The Athletic. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by BetterHelp. You know, when your schedule, it's packed with work projects and more, it's so easy to let your priorities start to slip, even when we know what makes us happy, but when you feel like you got no time for yourself. Non-negotiables like therapy, they're more important than ever. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, it's time to give BetterHelp a try. Entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. So simple. All you got to do, you go fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched up with the licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Go visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon. You're getting 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, just real quick, I thought this was fun as well. Again, up on The Athletic right now, they got every team's biggest need at the trade deadline. Obviously, we've got some time before things really ramp up, but let's hear your biggest need for the Wolves and what that looks like. Then I'll read what they got written down for you and let me know what you think.
This is going to be the most boring answer you've gotten on this pod, Luke. I'm sorry, but I think they just need to stay the course. This team, we've only seen them play a little over 20 games left. There's no need to panic. They got shooters. They got depth. I think Rob is going to grow into that backup point guard role by the end of the season. I think they just need to stay the course, not do anything rash, unless there's, a Randall for LeBron trade or something crazy.
Sure.
But like, just my biggest need for them is just let's just watch it play out this season.
For sure. I mean, I think most people would agree with you. The pieces are there. Things just need to gel together. The Athletic, what they put down, Johnny K, rim protector. Basically, when Rudy sits, Naz and Julius just ain't getting it done right now. I'm paraphrasing here, but Naz is solid, they wrote, undersized a little bit. Julius just really hasn't been consistent enough to rely on in the paint as of yet. You're just quick 2 cents knee-jerk reaction to that. Do you agree as well?
I think that makes sense. I think it's tough for the Wolves because unless they're willing to give up, one of their young talents, they don't really have that perfect salary mark of like that $10 to $25 million range where they could get like an impactful player back. And since they're in the second apron, they really can't sign any buyout guys or anyone over the veterans minimum. So it's going to be tough for them to make a trade for like a backup rim protector. Ideally, you'd like to see Naz get more accustomed to being that center again, gel more with Randall. I mean, heck, Jaden did a heck of a job rim protecting tonight too. So maybe he can get in there and do it a little more often. But, rim protection is something that this team is going to struggle with when Rudy sits, because he's the drop off, I think, from defensive player of the year to Naz Reid is just pretty substantial.
For sure. No, well said there. Spurs Sunday night, top 2 or 3 things you're kind of most keyed in on, I guess, for that one. Maybe some bullet points to remember for us. They did play the Spurs November 2nd. They lost that game 113-103. I just pulled up some quick box score stats. Ant led the team with 21. So did Julius Randle, I should say. Those two tied with the team lead in points with 21. Rudy Gobert, 3 rebounds in 23 minutes. Actually, Ant led the team in rebounds with 5. Quick thoughts. Spurs, Wolves, Sunday, 6 p.m. tip-off.
I mean, Wembanyama, you can't miss it. He is such a talent. I mean, between one-legged three-point shots, his length, his defense, he alone will be worth whatever the price for not Bally, but FanDuel TV
network.
He alone is worth it in that game. I mean, other side notes, Chris Paul, we don't know how long he's going to be around. He's getting to that end of his career stage. So it's worth it to check out a Chris Paul game at this point. And then just the Wolves. Winning against Golden State, winning against the Clippers, winning against the Lakers is great, but stringing those wins together, the Spurs are a solid team. If they can hold them to under 100 again and pull off another win, it just adds to their resume that this team is really figuring it out.
For sure. Oh, man, great stuff, man, as always. Wolves get back on track versus the Lakers. Final score, 97-87. Ant with 23. J-Mac, his best night of the season. Wolves move to 13-11 on the year. As always, huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen, and all you guys coming in the chat, venting, maybe celebrating with us from game to game. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Go follow Andrew's work on X at ADukeMN, plus all the work he's ripping up over at ZoneCoverageMN.com as well. He's live from the Target Center almost every home game. Again, Wolves Spurs, that's Sunday night, 6 p.m. tip-off. Catch you right here, same time, same place. But until then,